Hello, my friends. I hope you're doing well this morning, or maybe it's not morning when you're watching this video, but it's morning as of the shooting of this video. And I'm sitting outside again. Maybe the video quality will be a little better this week than it was last week, and it's going to continue to get better, I promise. But I just wanted to start getting the message out there. And thank you guys so much for watching the video last week. If you haven't watched it, go back and watch it. It's on my YouTube channel. And please share the video far and wide with friends or colleagues. Somebody out there needs these messages. Somebody out there is struggling and needs just a little boost. And so be that for them. And that's really what I'm about. I'm about service and helping people with all the things that I've learned and instituted in my own life that have created a thriving existence for me. And I want to build a community of people that are thriving. And so let's share these videos and let's get a conversation going. Please make comments, ask questions. There's nothing that's out of bounds here, guys. So let's be in conversation with each other. And today's topic, I want to cover confidence, and especially confidence. How do I keep confidence in moments of anxiety or in high stress moments? And I get asked that question a lot. David, how do you keep the composure and remain so confident even in the face of tough interactions or public speaking or meetings that you've got to go to that might be difficult? Your marriage, how do you do that? How do you maintain this kind of steady state? And I think it really came to me from training for the Ironman back in 2008. And don't worry, I'm not going to talk about the Ironman every week, but it is a formative experience that I've carried forward into the rest of my life, that really the habits that I was using during the Ironman have served me well in my life, in my career, in my personal relationships. And so I want to talk a little bit about, as I was going through Ironman training, I learned about Navy SEAL training. And one of the things I learned about SEAL training was these are guys that are put through incredibly intense, high-pressure situations. Physical and mental stamina like you wouldn't believe. And the beginning of SEAL training is 6 weeks that ends with something called Hell Week, where the SEAL recruits are only given about 4 hours of sleep over a 60-hour period. I can't imagine what that would feel like. But these guys are not sleeping. They're doing incredibly rigorous physical stuff, and they're able to do it. And so I started thinking, well, what is it that's causing those guys to do it? And so I studied it a bit. And I came to understand that when the Navy first started, they borrowed the training a lot from British Special Forces. And as they started recruiting some of the highest IQ and highest physical specimens to do the Navy SEAL training, the dropout rate in the beginning was 77%. And the Navy was curious, why are these high-achieving, really smart, wonderful people not getting through this training? So they hired a psychologist to come in. And the psychologist instituted these 4 habits of mind to really help people get through, help the SEAL recruits in this case get through their training. And I used these 4 habits during the Ironman, and I have continued to use them in my life. In fact, I use them in significant interactions. I can remember one recent interaction with a family member that was really high stress, high pressure, very emotional situation. And I was able to make these 4 habits come to life during that, and it really helped me. So I hope they'll help you. So let's get right into it. The first thing that we discover about the mind is that when it's doing tough tasks, it's really important to focus on right now. So that's number 1. Focus on now. Don't think about what's coming. Don't think about what's been in the past. And for the SEALs, it was think about the 20-mile run you're on right now. Don't think about what's coming next. Think about right now. For me during the Ironman, there were multiple times where I faced unforeseen circumstances. I got a flat tire at 96 miles of the bike, 96 miles into a 112-mile bike ride. I got a flat tire. And that was the moment. I was in that moment. I had to change that tire. I stopped thinking about the last part of the bike. I stopped thinking about the run, and I just focused on now. And during that interaction with the family member I was telling you about, there were multiple times where I could have been thinking about, well, what's coming next or where are we going? And especially in the highly intense parts of those conversations, I really focused on what was happening right now. And so number one, when you're in a high stress situation, focus on what's happening in the moment. So that's number one. Number two requires a couple of skills, but it is imagine what the success will feel like. Set short-term goals for yourself and imagine what it will feel like to be successful. And this requires two things. Number one, it requires us to know what it feels like to be successful. And one of the things that I experience of people out there in the world is we don't celebrate our successes like we should. We don't really take them in and fully experience what it feels like to be successful. I'm going to talk in future videos about how to celebrate your successes, but do you know what it feels like to be successful? Do you really know what it feels like? Can you see it? Can you imagine a time when you were successful and what it felt like, what it looked like, what it sounded like? So we have to first be able to tap into the experience of the feeling of success. And the second part of this is we have to be able to visualize. If we want to imagine the success of the short-term goal we've set, we need to actually be able to see ourselves succeeding in it. Because the mind actually strives for what it can most vividly imagine. Isn't that funny? If we give it a picture of failure, it doesn't run in the other direction from failure. It's what the mind knows. It's what it can see, and so that becomes the vision. That becomes the goal. But if we can picture success and what it will feel like, literally what it will look like to succeed in that task, then it will help us a lot. And so visualization is a huge part of it. And being able to visualize throughout the process of any stressful situation you're in, whether it's visualizing yourself being successful in a conversation you're going to have, smiling and happy and the other person smiling and happy, or whether it's a race that you're doing like I was in the Ironman where I was imagining, sorry for the plane flying over, but where I was imagining what it would feel like to finish that bike ride, to get that tire changed. But you got to be able to visualize the success. So that's number two. Do you think you can do that? Number three, breathe deeply. And again, a lot of people say, oh, here we go again, another guy talking to me about breathing. But I'm going to get a little bit more physiological on you this week than spiritual. Although there is a wonderful spiritual side to breathing, the physiological side is there's going to come a moment in any stressful situation where the you-know-what hits the fan. Something really unexpected happens. For me, I already talked about the flat tire, but it could have been a major headwind on the bike that was unexpected, where suddenly I was riding in 20-mile-an-hour winds, or somebody blows past me on the bike and knocks my water bottle off. I mean, these are all things that can happen, and we all experience them during interactions, during meetings. Unexpected things come up where we're triggered, and that's a word we're going to talk about throughout this, but you feel something, you have an emotion, you feel something happen in your body. But I think we've all experienced when we're in these tough situations, something happens where we kind of want to run away or we want to fight. And again, that's the amygdala in the brain. That's the part of the brain that is fight or flight or freeze. And there's a way to counteract that, and that's by flooding the brain, the mind, with oxygen. And so when you find yourself in a situation where the stress really ramps up, the anxiety really ramps up, I want you to do something in the moment. Take a few deep breaths. It doesn't have to be something that the other person can see. Just breathe. Take a few breaths. You're not just pausing. You're actually helping the brain to regulate, to allow the parts of the brain that are more reason-based to come into being and not have the amygdala be what's in control, and the oxygen really helps you do that. You can also do breathing exercises throughout your day, so it doesn't have to be something that you do in the moment. So try a few times during the day to just do some breathing, where you do an in-breath of 6, hold it for 2, an out-breath of 6. Do that 3 times. See how you feel. Just to get some oxygen in your body. And do that 3 times a day. Just try it out, see how it works. But in the moment, When you find yourself in stress, breathe deeply. Okay? So the final one that I want to talk about is we need to learn to, again, be our own cheerleader. I don't know about you, but I have developed a really strong relationship with my internal monologue. And what I came to realize over time is that internal monologue oftentimes wasn't saying very nice things to me. And especially in stressful situations, that internal monologue would kind of say, you can't do this. You're failing. It's not going well. They're not feeling good about this conversation. It's taken some real work for me to cultivate an internal monologue that is able to be a cheerleader for me, that really says, you can do this. You're doing great. Good job. And even when things don't go well, hey, we learned something, right? We made a mistake, but we learned something. And so do a little work on helping to cultivate your internal cheerleader. Because if we can be positive and we can have positive self-talk in the moment, it's amazing what we can overcome. And that kind of goes back to that visualization piece. Listen, you bring visualization, seeing yourself succeeding, together with a positive internal monologue where you're cheering yourself on, watch out, world. Something really powerful is going to happen for you. So, those are our 4. Just to review again, we talked a little bit about being in the moment right now. We talked about being able to see yourself being successful. We talked about breathing. And then finally, we talked about how do you be your own cheerleader? How do you find that positive voice? And so I want you to try this out. Again, the intention here is to practice, to just try things. And I'll be back next week with some more tips. Again, guys, please share this around. Please provide comments below. There's opportunities to do that. And I will see you next week. And until then, go out every day. Be present and aware in every moment. Be gentle and kind with yourself and with others. And if you need a mantra to repeat to yourself, try this. Be here now. Thank you.